Thank you very much for joining me again. This is Gulpain, and thanks for clicking on the video. Just a very quick review of this survival horror game from a bygone era, the PS2 era / Xbox. So this is a Curse the Eye of Isis. So if you played this before, you know that it's sort of a kind of a very similar game to Code Veronica or Silent Hill in the Resident Evil series. But it does separate itself from both of those games. It was developed actually by a British studio called Asylum Entertainment, and it was published by DreamCatcher Interactive. So I've never heard of either of those, so they mustn't have been that popular. And it basically was released. It has a bit of a funny release story. It wasn't released in Japan. It was only released in North America and Europe, and the PlayStation 2 version was actually only released in Europe as well, which is kind of strange for a game not to be, to be only released in Europe. There's very few of those, particularly for the PlayStation 2, because the PlayStation 2 was releasing like everything. It was a super popular console. So in this game, you take control of Darien Dane, and you have to go around this British museum. Well, a museum in England. I think it's in the Museum of Natural History in London, I believe. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure if that's the exact place, but somewhere like that anyway. You also play as a girl called Victoria as well. So the game has you going around the museum, and there's some sort of smoke, and it's taken over like people and also the exhibits as well. So you fight like mummies and various like thugs that have been kind of possessed by an evil spirit. There's a few different weapons in the game. They're all sort of like old-fashioned weapons, because this game takes place in like the late 19th century, 1890s, I believe. So basically, you don't really have a lot of good weapons. You have like a billy club that I think like it looks like you look like a policeman from like 400 years ago, going around beating people with a club. And then you have the old guns as well, and the healing items and all that. The status screen where you basically go through your healing items is, I don't know, it's very strange. It's real clunky as well. When you go to the status screen, there's like a significant pause, and then going back to the game, there's a significant pause as well. So it does sort of take you out of the experience. Exploration is good, I have to say. The environments, they do look very similar, but then you are going around a museum, so then it's going to look similar. But there are different exhibits, and you can kind of navigate basically around the museum via the exhibits. It starts off really strange as well, because the police don't let you into the museum and then walk off, and then you can just walk straight in. So it's quite strange. You do meet other characters as well. The story does, it does have some good pacing. It does kind of lead on from a previous bit, and then basically it's not really to write home about though. The story isn't really the best part of this game. I think the best part of this game is sort of the atmosphere and the gameplay. It could have had any sort of a story. Then again, most of these survival horror games, it's just like put X character in X situation and just shoot zombies and stuff like that. So that's kind of all you really want with one of these games. I did really enjoy this game, I have to say. I like the graphics in it. I think it looks really well for like a budget PlayStation 2 title. And any game that's sort of trying to emulate like Code Veronica, I'll give it a go. I'll try and play it, or emulate Resident Evil, because I really like this sort of like era of games, particularly in the PlayStation 2. You can recognize like a Dreamcast game or a PlayStation 2 / Xbox game from this era, and I really like that sort of style. They do it in the RPGs as well, where the characters are sort of like 3D, but they haven't really perfected it. It's like the levels of Xbox 60 or PlayStation 2. So thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.